Hi there, and welcome to another edition of Cool People. Now, over the last 2 years, since coming out very publicly as being transgender and becoming a trans ambassador, doing trans awareness training and public speaking and media appearances on the subject, I've met a lot of amazing people with incredible stories to tell. And so I've just made all these new friends. And what I'd like to do with this series is just to share them with you. And one of my new friends is a lovely man who you can see in the opposite window here, called Michael Jonson-Ellis. And he is the founder, or co-founder, should I say, along with his husband, Wes, of a website called Two Dads UK. And that was set up primarily to help same-sex couples become parents. Because it's very tough for them and it's very difficult, and it was basically a signposting route. And they've since now formed the Modern Family Show, because they felt that they needed to reach out to a more trans audience as well. So he's going to be telling me all about it. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks for having me.
No, it's been great, and we had a great chat the other week, and so it's brilliant to have you on the show. So I just wondered if you'd like to just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to being where you are now, because I know your website is incredibly popular now, and so
thank you.
I'd just love to hear about your journey.
Yeah, of course, love to. Well, my journey started. I think back from when I came out, from when I was 22, I previously was married to a woman, and I got married very young. And
How old was that?
I got married at 20.
Oh, right, that was very young, wasn't it?
Yeah, so super young. Not married very long, obviously. And when my relationship broke down, about 6 months later, I came out.
Right.
And I came out on the premise that, or with the understanding that I could go down two very different paths. And if I came out, I would be looking after my mental health. But in my mind, I would also trade off being a parent, because I didn't know anyone else that was gay that was a dad.
Yeah.
And I always, from as long as I can remember, always wanted to be a parent. But I also, at that point, needed to make a decision and look after myself. And I started living my truer self, which I'm sure you can appreciate.
Feels amazing, doesn't it?
So yeah, it's just that weight, isn't it? It's just like it's a new life. There's no other word to describe it. I was living my new life, my best life, and had a couple of serious relationships, none of which at that point we were thinking, or I was thinking of building a family. And then when my last relationship broke down sort of 9 years ago, I was like, right, I need to have some time for me. So I had some time out. It was 2012. It was Birmingham Pride. And I was in the village and I was having a drink. And across the bar was my husband now, Wes. And I clocked him, and I could see that he was looking at me, and it was quite intense. And I went and I said hi, as you do. I'm not looking for. I didn't want a boyfriend. Yeah, I didn't want a boyfriend. I was out with my mates, enjoying Pride. But this man changed my life.
Wow.
We got engaged within 4 months, and at that point, we started talking about children. Now,
wow.
My husband, when I met him, he had a 7-year-old daughter called Katie.
Good name.
Strong name. Great name. And Katie is adorable and taught me a lot, and was that first introduction to being a step parent potentially, and being a blended family. So we spoke about wanting children, and Wes right from the outset was like, I'd love more kids. And I was like, I have to be a father. And most people say, well, what were your family building options? And you know, they're thankfully they're vast now. There's adoption, there's fostering, there's co-parenting, there's surrogacy. And we went down the surrogacy route because I wanted a biological child, and I'm not afraid to say that, because that's how we wanted to create our family.
That's understandable. That's what most people's instinct is, isn't it? So it's
Mm-hmm.
totally understandable. And why shouldn't it be available to you?
Exactly.
Mm.
But it was very difficult to find information, and we spent 4 years researching how to create our family through surrogacy. We looked at all of the international options, of which there was Canada, the US, Mexico, Nepal, India, Colombo. There was Thailand at the time, and there was Cyprus, and there was the UK, all of which have varying degrees of access, all of which have varying degrees of success. But sadly, a lot of them don't work or aren't permitted to work with same-sex couples. So
right.
If you were to go to that particular country, you would have to pretend to be straight. Or your surrogate, you'd have to pretend that that was your wife or your girlfriend. Or in some cases, you'd have to marry them.
Good grief.
Now, that wasn't something I was comfortable with. That wasn't the story I wanted to tell our children, how they, that journey was deceitful. So I thought that, no, that's not for us. The US was cost prohibiting. It's $150,000 to $200,000 to do a surrogacy journey in the States. We just didn't have that money at the time. So we then came back round to looking back in the UK. And there are a number of charities that do incredible jobs, or not-for-profits that do great jobs in signposting surrogacy services. But at that time, in 2014, all of their books were closed to intended parents like us, because they had not enough surrogates and far too many intended parents. So they closed the books just to balance the ratio out. So it was a 1-to-3 ratio. So we had to go down the independent route. And what that means is we had to find our own clinic. They had to find our egg donor. We had to find our own surrogate, and we had to find all our own legal support. So we went away, and I'm a bit of a geek in terms of finding information. So crafted all of this information from a ton of reference sites to build a route to parenthood through UK surrogacy. And that was the start of creating Two Dads UK. We created an Instagram and a Facebook page, and we documented our fertility journey. We spoke and we blogged. We were working with a number of clinics to talk about, what a patient pathway looks like for 2 gay men or 1 gay man, and what services need to be there to make that quite a smooth pathway. And the site, the Instagram and the Facebook got more and more successful. And, before we know it, it was 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, wow. 30,000. And it was like, a lot of people wanted to know this information. It was great.
Yeah. You'd struck a chord, obviously.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I think no one was really doing it at the time.
No.
So our journey continued. We found our clinic. They found our donor. We decided to create our embryos. I would fertilise the first set of eggs, and then when we were ready to have another child, Wes would fertilise the second set. So our eggs were retrieved. They were all fertilised. That was all brilliant. We'd met our surrogate. We'd taken 6 months getting to know her and her family, formed an incredible relationship, which is super important in surrogacy. And surrogacy in the UK, just so people are aware, it's altruistic. So what that means is you can't pay someone to be your surrogate. Neither can you advertise for someone to be a surrogate, both of which are illegal. So altruistic surrogacy means the surrogate can be reimbursed reasonable expenses to carry a child. Now, the current law states that when a surrogate gives birth, the parental responsibility is with the surrogate and her husband if she's married. And that's where the law is currently being reformed, which we'll talk about later.
Okay.
And so you have to apply for a parental order once your baby's 6 weeks old. And then you go through the courts to be recognised as the legal parent. And then by the time your child's 6 months old, they're legally your child. bonkers system.
It's a long process, isn't it?
No, so the current system in the UK isn't ideal.
No.
Which is why you need to ensure that you're embarking on a surrogacy journey and you've been really thorough. You've taken legal advice, and you're super prepared. Again, part of the work that we do, helping other intended parents become parents. So we were pregnant. We did our embryo transfer in Valentine's weekend of February 2016. And then Tallulah, 3-year-old now, was born on the 16th of October. And she's an absolute force. Those that follow us will see what she's like. She's just bonkers. But our life changed forever. It was just the best. And one of those, it's just an indescribable feeling being a parent, as I'm sure you know. Yeah. But along that journey, we continued to document the pregnancy. We continued to document the highs and the lows. And that caught the eye of a few media outlets. So we were involved in a Channel 4 documentary, there were 2 titles for it. So one was Raised by Queers and the other one was Gay Dads Forever. And that was with Kieran Richardson from Hollyoaks. So we did a documentary with him.
Fantastic.
And it was around the time of the decriminalisation of homosexuality. So it was a documentary about that, but also parenting. So it was good. And then we've continued to blog and to normalise, for want of a better description, same-sex parenting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Through the work that we do and the campaigning that we do. We were asked to go to the Houses of Parliament to talk about our route to parenthood to help influence the new law. So the all-party parliamentary group, APPG, asked us to talk about the challenges of being 2 men on a quest of parenthood and how could the law be changed, which was great. So we've been able to help influence that's happening currently. And then we formalised Two Dads UK. So we set that up as a business to work with fertility clinics in the UK to help them market their services effectively to the LGBTQ plus community, to ensure that their merchandise, their website, their overall look and feel does not discriminate. And also support those intended parents that want to be a parent through surrogacy, that can't afford the state, that doesn't want to go to a country where it may not be particularly safe for them. So we help them understand surrogacy better. And that's essentially what Two Dads UK do. We've supported over 250 intended parents now. We work with the majority of UK clinics that have a proven surrogacy program. We work with the not-for-profits as well that already exist. So we collaborate with them, and we write for a fertility magazine, an online fertility magazine called IVF Babble. And we continue to do some really cool media stuff. We've done Sainsbury's Christmas TV ad. We've done an Audi commercial. We've got one coming out in the autumn. It's just fun, and it's there to destigmatise surrogacy, and for those that don't understand it, and also to help normalise same-sex parenting. Really, to help. So when our children are at school, other children see families like ours. So it's not challenging for Tallulah or Duke. Because Duke was born, we have a 9-month-old now. He was born in August last year. This time, Wes is biological child. So we have a crazy household at the minute.
Fantastic.
It's all spectrums of the parenting, from a moody teenager to a tantruming toddler to a crying newborn. It's challenging.
This is our second attempt at trying to do this recording, isn't it?
Because of that very reason.
There was a major tantrum going on the first time, I believe.
Yes, little Miss Sass, and that's not my husband. That is Tallulah. Crazy. Oh. So you know. That's Two Dads UK, and the website is twodaddies.co.uk. Again, It's a fun business. It does a lot of advocacy work, and a lot of campaigning that we're doing. We're doing a big campaign at the moment to influence policy within the NHS to ensure that their surrogacy policy isn't discriminating. So we're making some real good tracks to break down some of the discrimination and some of the unethical practices and policies in the NHS with regards to treating intended parents as parents and not birth partners. So that's been a great project, and we've had some phenomenal success. We've assisted with writing new Department of Health guidelines on educating healthcare professionals. And we've been asked to speak at Royal College of Nursing events about surrogacy as well. And we were due to speak at an event in Leicester, actually, at the football ground, a midwifery and nursing conference about gay parenting. But because of this situation, that's been postponed.
Same with me. I was supposed to be a keynote speaker at an NHS diversity conference, and that's been postponed for the time. I mean, hopefully it'll come back at some point, but at the moment, of course, everything's just on hold at the moment, isn't it?
It's crazy, isn't it? Just crazy. We had so many fun things in the calendar. We were invited to go to Cape Cod in Massachusetts to be at a Gay Family Week event in July. That's cancelled. We were meant to be in Cyprus for a similar thing in April. That got cancelled. So many speaking events cancelled. Wes runs a street food business. So we've got 5 street food trucks. All of those bookings for the rest of the year cancelled. So it's been challenging. In all of this as well, we, at the start or at the end of last year, we launched the Modern Family Show. The Modern Family Show is, if I rewind slightly actually, we exhibit at something called the Fertility Show. And the Fertility Show is a phenomenal family planning, family creation, fertility event, where all the global players come to have an exhibition stand to talk to those that want fertility treatment, whether that's in the UK or abroad. And we go as Two Dads UK, and it's a real successful event for us. But it really surprised us how busy we were with dealing with the LGBTQ plus community, and actually how many trans people came over to talk to us. And you could see that it wasn't a place where they felt comfortable, and they would much rather a safer space to talk in private about fertility preservation mainly.
Yeah,
and
big thing. It's a big issue.
Big thing, especially at the moment as well. And we thought, right, we need to create something here for our community, because there used to be a show called the Alternative Parenting Show, which doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
So Wes and I decided to create something that was exclusively inclusive for all of us from the LGBTQ community, particularly trans. And the Modern Family Show was born, and it's booked for the 19th of September at 8 Northumberland, just off Trafalgar Square in London. It's not it's not an exhibition, it's a show. And we are working with some of the leading fertility professionals from around the world. And people like the Tavistock are joining with us. Our charity partner is Mermaids and Diversity Role Models. We've got some great fertility experts from the UK, the Agora in Brighton, Carol Gilling-Smith, who's one of the most fundamental trailblazers within LGBTQ fertility, particularly with the trans community. We've got clinics there talking about surrogacy, IVF, IUI for gay women. We've got Pride Angels there talking about egg and sperm donation. And then we've got fostering, because it's not all about fertility. So we've got fostering, adoption, co-parenting.
That's a tough journey in itself, isn't it? I've got several friends who've gone through that. It's not an easy journey.
Yeah, it is. It's super tough. And again, we wanted to create that space where people could come and talk to people safely about it. And but also have a real emphasis on education. So there are 3 main education zones, 2 120-seater theatres, and a main stage where there'll be debates about parenting. And we're really proud of the event. It's 90% sold from an exhibition point of view.
Fantastic.
That was what was really reassuring. The industries from all over the world, we didn't have to sell it. They were like, "This is a no-brainer. We're in for this. We understand that this is lacking, and we want to support that community."
Amazing.
So that was great. And tickets went on sale a few weeks ago, and they're moving nicely. We've just joined forces with a PR agency to start promoting it. So we're keeping a very close eye on the current situation. We have a contingency plan should it need to be looked at, and social distancing plays a major factor, which it may do. So there is a plan B. We are not cancelling. We may have to postpone it to a safer date, or we do something really creative with technology, which is something that we're looking at. So that's in a nutshell is where I spend my life. Doing 2 dads, Modern Family Show, and being a dad and a husband.
Well, I think that's a fair amount to have on your plate, isn't it?
It's a fair bit.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, well, thanks so much for telling me about that. I mean, it's incredible actually, and it just shows how much demand there is there. The fact that you've just been picked up just like that, because there wasn't anything out there, was there? So
no, and as great as all of the other organisations are that offer these types of services, no one exclusively does it for this community. Certainly from a surrogacy point of view, and then from the Modern Family Show. So we, not only when there's an opportunity to do something, this went beyond that. This was about doing the right thing for our community and fixing a problem and supporting those that need that help. And I think from a Modern Family Show perspective, it was the easiest decision that we could ever have made. It was been one of the most expensive decisions we've had to make, but it was the right one to do, because as a gay man, and I think I've said this to you before and I'll say it again, we forget, or we're very quick to forget where our community was 30 years ago. And I'm ashamed to say that, there are times when I'd forgotten where we'd come from and how much our trans brothers and sisters need us now.
But trans people are about 20 or 30 years behind gay and lesbian people, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're getting
we
there.
Forget that.
But
we need to be more supportive, and we need to remember that we were there not long ago. We were being discriminated against. We were being name called. We had inequalities in law and in travel and in the workplace. And we can't, it would be hypocritical of me to sit here and just let my trans friends just struggle on and get through and, head down, quickly walk past for fear of abuse or being targeted. And that's just not cool.
No, well, I really appreciate that, because as I'm sure you're well aware of, obviously there's been there has been some negativity from within the LGBTQ plus community towards trans people. Obviously referring to the TERFs, the trans exclusionary radical feminists, and so it's lovely when you do get support. And to be honest, they are just a minority. I mean, but they're just a very vocal minority. So the vast majority of people I found have been so supportive from within the LGBTQ plus community and from outside. I think the support has been actually tremendous. But you only need a very small vocal minority, and people, and the media latch onto them, and then they sort of blow them out of proportion, and then people think they're actually bigger than they are, but they're not, but they're just noisy. That's the trouble. So I really do appreciate the help that you're giving us.
oh look, it's tiny in comparison to you know to but it's but you have to do something. And I don't think, you know, one of the biggest things that we teach our children, apart from being kind, is tolerance. And our children, even, you know, Katie included, you know, we're a household where we tolerate everybody. And that's the beauty of children at the moment. Certainly with Tallulah doesn't see gender or race. It's beautifully innocent and long. I know I want to try and capture that as long as I can. But you know, we have that role and responsibility as not only as parents but also as human beings to look out for our friends. You know,
Exactly.
it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, babies aren't born with prejudice; they're taught it, and it's the same as, you know, they're taught about acceptance as well, and that's what it's all about, is acceptance, and just recognizing the fact that whoever you are, we're all just people who want to be, we want to be safe, we want to be loved, and we want to be happy, and we've all got those needs, haven't we?
Of course,
and that's the message. I mean, and that's the message that I bang on about constantly. And I know that, you know, there's a few trans people like me who stick our heads above the parapet, but not that many. I mean, there's getting more now, but there's still not that many. We need more to do it.
And do you think that's for fear, from a fear point of view?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so many just want to just keep their heads down and, you know, don't want to be visible. But I think the best message you can get across is just to be visible and to be happy, and that sends out such a great message, because if you can just sort of show that it really is okay to be trans, you know, you can be happy and being trans, you know, the two aren't completely different things, you can be both. Then I think that sends out such a strong message to other trans people, because they need that message getting through, and then also to cisgender people, so non-trans people. You know, they need to know that. They need to see that, you know, we're just ordinary people. We just want to be happy. That's it.
Yeah, it's a small ask, isn't it? Do you know, it's all we want.
And it seems so simple. It's such a simple message, but it's amazing how difficult it is to get it across, because, you know, I have to say it time and time again, and do all the very public stuff that I've been doing. And it still seems a bit like an uphill struggle at times. But I think we'll get there. But it's just, as you say, we're about 20 or 30 years behind, you know, where gay and lesbian people were. So I think we will get there.
You will, of course you will. Of course you will. And that's, you know, platforms like this is one way of getting that message out there. And I think we're seeing more and more people understand the trans community, because I think a lot of what you see, or a lot of the prejudices that we see, you know, were similar to what we've seen previously, and it's just people not understanding or not having a vehicle or a platform to ask those questions, to get those answers. I think, you know, I think it's not the same, but it's the people that speak to myself and my husband, or that have said to us, well, you know, I don't think gay men should have children. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that. Why do you think that? Because that's bonkers. You know, it's one of the best things I love doing is I like to challenge and I like to educate. And I think you can
I'll do the same.
Do the two of those very cleverly together. And the impact of that is massive.
I think so. I do the same.
Yeah, and that's what we should all be doing. You know, we should all be helping to fight each other's battles, because collectively we all win. Because we're one community, and that's what I think a lot of people seem to forget. That we come together as one. So why shouldn't we be holding our trans friends' hand to lead them through where it's a dark spot for them? You know, it's just hypocritical not to.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that helps to get the message across is humour as well, because if you can if you can entertain people as well as educate them, then they don't realize they're being educated, they're just being entertained. But then at the end of it, they've got that message, and I think that really, really does help.
I agree. I think that's and I think it's one of the subtle things that we do on our Insta or our Facebook page. You know, we take the mick out of ourselves daily. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And we inject humour so people see what a same-sex family is like, and the things that we get up to, and the things we do, and the things we get wrong. You know, and you know, overwhelmingly, it's exactly the same as what a heterosexual family would be doing. There are no differences in the mistakes that we make or the parenting challenges that we have. It's exactly the same. And you know, it just goes back to that's what children need. They just need that guidance, that support, and that love to keep them happy and safe, regardless of who their parents are or what their gender is or what their orientation may be. It's all about, you know, bringing children up in a loving environment.
Yeah, and being a parent just changes your life just so much, doesn't it? I mean,
it's hard to explain.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's really hard to explain. I think when I became a dad, I'd always heard my straight friends say, "Oh, it's a love that you can never describe." You know, it's "I would kill for my children," and all of these phrases that you know are ingrained. And when I first locked eyes on Tallulah when she was born, I just was like, "Wow, my gosh! Now I know what they mean."
It's overwhelming, isn't it? It's just so strong. The bond is just amazing.
It's just bizarre what it does, and how you. Oh, you know, I was an absolute emotional wreck for. You know, even now, she'll do something, and I'll be all.
Well, it does make you emotional, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So emotional. Yeah. And, you know, we're at that phase now where we're in protection mode because, you know, she doesn't need us as much. And she wants to be Miss Independence. You know, she wants to be the big sister now. And I'm not quite ready for her to be that. That's not...
How old did you say she was again?
She's 3 and 3. Katie's 15.
Okay.
But she's like, I want to be big sister. And I'm like, no, you're still our baby.
Oh.
But yeah, it's the best and the hardest job I've ever had.
Oh yeah, it's not easy.
No, it's not easy at all, and not at the minute either, as we well know. You know, juggling a lot of my work is also like this at the minute. And I was recording. We've done a load of COVID-19 support sessions out, sort of 20 mini episodes. Which is supporting the trying to conceive community during lockdown because the fertility industry closed down. This content was designed to support and help. And on one episode, it was like that BBC News interview where that child comes running in the background of a video. Tallulah comes barging in on one of my videos, and it was live, and I'm like, oh my God. So that was an experience. But apart from that, lockdown life is all right.
Yeah. Well, I quite often have my cat sort of makes an appearance on these recordings. He's actually sitting down next to me on the sofa. He's fast asleep at the moment, but quite often he'll be outside the door. And things. If I close the door and he wants to come in, he'll make a right racket. He'll be clawing away at the door and sort of headbutting the door. So I keep it open so he comes in. But when he comes in, he doesn't come in quietly. He likes to announce himself. So
of course.
But every now and again he'll get a black tail coming up the picture. And
really? We don't have a cat. We've got a dog. He's in the kitchen. It's quite a lazy dog, so he's just fast asleep on the sofa.
Yeah, that's fine. That's his job. Oh, brilliant! Well, yeah. Well, it's been so lovely to talk to you, Michael. It's been fantastic, and thank you so much for being today's cool person.
Thank you. That's a lovely title to have. I'm going to use that one.
Well, I'm thinking I ought to have some badges made out and send them out to all my cool people. Say I'm officially a cool person because Katie says so.
Yes, do it.
And then another one of my guests that said we ought to have, at the end of all this, we ought to have a cool people party. That sounds like a good idea as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, you
I'm
never
down
know.
for both of those.
Yeah. So it sounds like a plan. So but I'm
Yes,
absolutely.
I'll hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that.
I knew you would. Yeah. I'm absolutely loving making this series, though. It's just a brilliant thing to do because I mean the stories that people have got, and I would say I know so many interesting people, and it's just been fantastic. I'm absolutely loving it. Really am.
Yeah, it's great. Well done, and I think they're great.
Thank
They're
you.
educational. They're fun. They're a great introduction to new people. Yeah, I think they're something you should be proud of.
Oh, thank you. Well, originally, I was thinking about just interviewing trans people because obviously I know a lot of trans people, and we've all got completely different stories. And I thought, well, it's a good way of doing that. I thought, actually, no, it's actually better to widen it out further to just anyone who's got a good story to tell. And often it's people who've come through some sort of adversity and how they've dealt with it, and because they're just inspirational, I find, and people just relate to it. People like real life stories, and with this format it gives people the time to do it because they're a long video, but so what, if people are interested they'll watch, if they're not they
Of course
won't.
they will.
Yeah. So it's one of those things.
Of course they will.
Yeah, well, thanks ever so much again, Michael. Really do appreciate
You're very
it.
welcome.
Lovely to
It's a
see you
pleasure.
again. And
Thank you.
thanks everyone for watching, and please catch up with us at my next episode of Cool People. I've got lots more cool people lined up for you, so I wonder who's going to be the next one.